everyone and welcome to Kiki Crochet. In this video tutorial we are going to learn how to crochet step by step this beautiful evening crocodile stitch clutch bag. The material that I'm using is from a store here in Greece called Magenta Arty Workshop. I have the link under the video in the first pinned post where you can find their website to see the kits that Maria has prepared, but also their Facebook page, which is better to contact them via their Facebook page because the website is in Greek. Okay, so now let's see one by one the material that we're going to use and how to start. Now let's see one by one the material that we're going to use for our elegant purse. And we're going to use a metal frame, and this is how it looks like. It has a metal bracelet with little diamonds over here, and this is how it opens. Now it's very important when you crochet on a metal frame, you need to know their measurements from the one side to the other, and I'm measuring from where the holes start up until the other side on the holes again, and it's 19 centimeters. And I want to know, and now that's the width, and I want to know the opening of the frame, which is 11 centimeters. And those little rings over here, they help us attach chain in the end if we prefer, so you can hold the bag from the bracelet, or you can hang it from your shoulder. The yarn that I'm going to use is a cord which seems metallic. The color is golden. The chain that I mentioned earlier that we can attach on the metal frame. Okay, this is how you can attach the chain. Well, we're going to see it in the end as well, but I just want to show you how you can attach the chain. And you can wear it on your shoulder. And I'm going to crochet with a 3.5 millimeter crochet hook. Now I have already started with my beginning chain, and if you use the frame in the same centimeters, similar yarn and the same crochet hook, you're all going to start with 40 chains. Okay, and I'm going to work the first row of single crochet. So in row 1 I'm going to have 39 single crochet. 40 chains, and row 1 will have 39 single crochet. So skip the first chain and start from the second one and work 1 single crochet across. 1, next chain, 2, next one, 3, next one, 4, next one, 5. Okay, keep crocheting up until you reach the end right over here, and you're going to have 39 single crochet. I have completed crocheting 1 single crochet in every single one of my chains, and I have a total of 39 stitches. Now we're going to start row 2, and in the same exact way we're going to start row 2, you're going to be starting every single row up until we complete the base. So chain 1 and turn your work. And starting from the first stitch right over here, we're going to work 1 single crochet in every stitch across. 1, next stitch, 2, next one, 3, next stitch, 4, and keep crocheting 1 stitch in every stitch up until the end over here, where again you're going to have a total of 39 single crochet. I have completed crocheting row number 2, and this is how my work looks like at this point. Now go ahead and work 22 more rows off camera. So we have worked 2 together plus the 22 that we're going to work off camera. We're going to have a total of 24 rows with 39 single crochet each row. Once I finish, I'm going to turn my video back on. I have completed crocheting my base. I have 24 rows, a total of 39 stitches in each one of my rows. Okay, now Before we continue, I want to explain why I made my base this big and why I'm using this number of stitches that I am, okay? So what I want to do is I'm going to take the frame and I'm going to place the base on top of the frame. And I want the base to be covering the frame all around in the same way as it is right now. Okay? Now, having said that, the other reason that I have the total number of stitches that I'm using for my base and for the total number of rows, because my bag is going to have and we're going to use the crocodile stitch, the rule for the stitch is multiples of 6 plus 3. Now, if you recall, I started with a total of 40 chains, which in reality is a multiple of 6. 6 times 6 is 36, plus 4 is 40 chains. So I started with a multiple of 6 plus 4. So I want the rule to apply to the total number of stitches and not chains that we're going to have on the base, okay? So I have 39 stitches, 6 times 6 is 36, plus 3, it's 39. Okay, so a total of 39 stitches, and the total number of rows, I have a total of 24 rows, I want them to be a multiple of 6. 24 divided by 6 is 4, okay? Now, when you add all the stitches around and you divide that number by 6, you need to have a result of a whole number. So, because we're going to crochet around, I'm going to add 39 stitches, plus 39 stitches on the other side, plus 24 stitches, plus 24 stitches on the other side. And the result is 126. If you divide that number by 6, the result is 21. So we want to have a whole number as a result. So when you crochet all around, you want your number of stitches to be divisible by 6, okay? So now we're going to start crocheting around the base, and on the top and the bottom, each single crochet counts as a stitch. As well, each chain in the bottom counts as a stitch, and on the sides, each row counts as a stitch. I have 24 rows. The first stitch of every row is, I'm going to be counting them as stitches. Okay, so let's start crocheting all around. So what we're going to do now is we're going to crochet a total of 2 rows with 1 single crochet all around for a total of 126 stitches. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to chain 1 and turn my work sideways. So I'm going to start crocheting on the side going downwards for a total of 24 stitches. Now, everywhere that you see a hole is where you're going to be putting your crochet hook into. Okay, so first row, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, because each hole is the first single crochet of every row. So chain 1, turn sideways and start crocheting from the first single crochet. Put your hook under the stitch and work 1, next row, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and keep crocheting till the end for a total of 24 stitches. I have worked a total of 24 stitches going downwards. Now I'm going to turn my work again clockwise to work on the leftover loops of the beginning chains that we worked. Now, starting from the first stitch, where I'm not going to put my hook here because this seems as the first chain, but skip this chain and start from the next one right over here. Work your first single crochet, 1, next chain, 2, next one, 3, next one, 4, 5, 6, and keep crocheting up until you have 39 stitches, where the 39th stitch is going to fall right in here. I have completed crocheting my 39 stitches. Okay, now I'm going to turn clockwise again to start crocheting on the side going upwards. So I'm going to start from the first row, which is this one right over here. Okay, so 1, next row, 2, next one, 3, next one, 4, 5, and keep crocheting 1 single crochet for a total of 24 stitches, where the last stitch is going to be right here in the first stitch of the row. Now, because we're crocheting 1 stitch all around, our work is going to start building up. And you will see that right here in the corner, you will have a little dent. See how it is? This is how it's supposed to be. It's not wrong. This happens because our work is going to start building up now. So once I finish working my 24 stitches, I'm going to turn my video back on. I have completed working my 24 stitches going upwards, and this is where I worked my last single crochet. Now again, turn clockwise, so we're going to crochet on the top over here, starting from the next stitch right over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and keep crocheting 1 single crochet in every stitch up until the end over here, where we are going to have a total of 38 stitches. Okay, and again, see, we have this little dent here in the corner. Once I finish the row, I'm going to turn my video back on. I have completed crocheting up until the last stitch for a total of 38 stitches. Now put your hook in the first single crochet that we worked when we started going downwards, and work a slip stitch. Chain 1, put your hook in the same stitch as the slip stitch and work the first single crochet for the second row. Okay, so this is now the second row of single crochet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so keep working 1 single crochet in every stitch all around for a total of 125 stitches. Once I reach the end, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to start creating the design. I'm almost done crocheting my row. Now I'm gonna work my last single crochet right in this stitch, even though it's not a stitch. This is my slip stitch, okay? And I'm not supposed to crochet in here, but if I work a slip stitch from here where I am right over here, it's gonna create a hole in between, okay? So work 1 single crochet in here, which is a slip stitch. So my 125 single crochet just became 126. And put your hook in the first single crochet for this row and work a slip stitch. Now chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, which count as a double crochet the first 3 chains, and the 4th one counts as a chain 1 space, and turn your work. Now this side where I just turned my work is going to be the wrong side of my bag, and the other side when I'm going to turn to start the new row after this one is going to be the good side where we're going to be creating the crocodile stitch. Okay, so I have worked 4 chains. Now skip 2 stitches. This is my slip stitch, so it's not a stitch. 1, 2 stitches. Put your hook in the 3rd one and work 2 double crochet. 1, same stitch, 2. Chain 1, skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, work 1 double crochet in the 3rd stitch. 1. Chain 1, skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, put your hook in the third and work 2 double crochet in the same stitch. Chain 1, skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, work 1 double crochet in the third stitch. Okay, so this is the pattern that you're going to be following all around. 1 double crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochet, chain 1, 1 double crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochet, chain 1, 1 double crochet. Everywhere that I have my 2 double crochet, I'm going to be creating the crocodile stitch in the next row, and everywhere that I have the 1 double crochet, I'm going to be working the slip stitch to secure the crocodile stitch. Okay, and after the 2 double crochet and the 1 double crochet, we always chain 1. So chain 1 and always skip 2 stitches, put your hook in the third and work 2 double crochet in the same stitch. Okay, so keep repeating those steps all around. Once I finish, I'm going to turn my video back on. I have completed crocheting all around. Okay, after the 2 double crochet, make sure that you work your chain 1. Now, in the end, you're either going to have 2 stitches or 3 stitches left. It doesn't matter. Put your hook in the third chain, counting from the bottom to the top, and work your slip stitch. Okay, I'm just going to chain 1 so my work doesn't frog. Okay, so at this point you will realize that your work has started to build up. Okay, see how in the corners and everything it has started to curve. So this means now that we're going to start crocheting, we're going to be creating the bag. Okay, and it's going to build upwards. Now, so after this slip stitch, I have worked 1 chain and turn your work. Now we are going to be working on the outside of our project. What I'm going to do is I'm going to yarn over once and I'm going to put my hook on the right side under the right double crochet. I'm going to turn clockwise and I'm going to work 5 double crochet going downwards. All 5 of the stitches are going to be worked under this double crochet. Once I work my 5 double crochet, I'm going to chain 1 and I'm going to turn, I'm going to bring back right to my work, and then I'm going to put my hook from the left side under the left double crochet, and I'm going to turn my work counterclockwise and I'm going to crochet 5 stitches going upwards. So let's see how to do that. Okay, yarn over once. Now put your hook from the right side under the right double crochet and turn clockwise. I'm going to work 5 double crochet under the same stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now chain 1. Okay, and I've worked half of my crocodile stitch now. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my hook under the left double crochet, turn counterclockwise and work the 5 stitches going upwards. So put your hook in the loop, yarn over once and turn counterclockwise and work your 5 stitches going upwards. Okay, 1, 2, sorry, 3, 4, and 5. And on the 1 double crochet that stands by itself, work a slip stitch. Now the slip stitch that I work on the double crochet that stands by itself, it's to secure the leaf so the edges don't fold up. Okay, so we work the 5 stitches going downwards and then the 5 stitches going upwards, and look how beautiful our stitch looks. Now after the slip stitch, again go to the next 2 double crochet that we have here And again, put your hook from the right side under the right stitch and turn clockwise. Work 5 double crochet going downwards, chain 1, and then put your hook from the left side under the left stitch and turn counterclockwise and work the 5 stitches going upwards. Okay, yarn over once, put your hook under the right stitch and turn clockwise and work 5 double crochet under the same stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, chain 1, and I have created half of the leaf at this point, the 5 stitches going downwards. Now we're going to put our hook under the left stitch, turn counterclockwise and work the 5 double crochet going upwards. Okay, so yarn over once, put your hook under the left stitch and work 5 double crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Again, on the double crochet that stands by itself, work a slip stitch. So again, look how our project looks like. We created the second leaf, the second crocodile stitch, and look how beautiful it looks. Now again, we're going to work a third scale together, and this is going to be the last one we're going to work together, then we're going to continue off camera. So always yarn over once, always put your hook under the right stitch from the right side, and always turn clockwise and work 5 stitches going downwards. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Chain 1. We have worked half of the scale going downwards. Now we're going to put our hook from the left side under the left double crochet, turn counterclockwise and work your 5 stitches going upwards. Okay, so let's start. So make sure you put your hook under the stitch, okay? One, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Again, work a slip stitch on the double crochet that stands by itself, and we have created together the first 3 scales, okay, the first 3 crocodile stitches. Now go ahead and continue off camera. Okay, always make sure on the 2 double crochet to put your hook on the right stitch from the right side, turn clockwise, 5 stitches going downwards, chain 1, from the left side under the left stitch, okay, and turn counterclockwise and work your 5 stitches going upwards. Once I finish the row, I'm going to turn my video back on. I have completed crocheting my crocodile stitch all around, and look what a beautiful result it gives on our, it'll give on our bag. Now, what I'm gonna do after the last scale, we're going to work the slip stitch on the third chain counting from the bottom to the top, okay, to secure the last scale. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start the new row, so I'm going to chain 3, 2, 3, and I'm going to turn my work. Now in the first stitch where I have the 3 chains, well, I started with 4 chains, which was a double crochet and a chain 1. So this means that this is the double crochet that stands by itself. So on top of that stitch, I'm going to work 1 more double crochet. Okay, now I'm going to chain 1, and in the center of the scale, right over here, in the center of the scale, see this little eye up here? Work only 1 double crochet. Chain 1 and go right ahead on the double crochet that stands by itself right over here, and work 2 double crochet on top of that stitch. 1, same stitch, 2, chain 1 and go right ahead in the center of the scale right over here. Okay, so in between the 2 double crochet, right here in the center, work 1 double crochet, chain 1 on the double crochet that stands by itself. Now right over here, work 2 double crochet in the same stitch, 1, same stitch, 2. So this pattern repeats those 2 rows. The one row is the one with the scales, and the second row is the one where we work 2 double crochet, 1 double crochet, 2 stitches, okay? And everywhere that I have the center of the scale, I will always going to be working only 1 double crochet, and on top of the double crochet that stands by itself, I'm always going to be working 2 double crochet in the same stitch. So keep working all around. Once I reach over here where I will crochet 1 double crochet in the last scale over here, I'm going to turn my video back on. I have worked my 1 double crochet on top of my last crocodile stitch, chain 1 and work a slip stitch on the first stitch for this row, which is the 3rd chain counting from the bottom to the top. Okay, oops. Now we're going to start the new row by working the crocodile stitch, but before you do that, please go back and check your stitches that you have crocheted correctly, the 2 double crochet and the 1 double crochet, because it has happened to me many times as well. Instead of working the 2 double crochet on top of the stitch, I go 1 double crochet and then 1 double crochet here, and then I have to go back and frog the whole row to redo it to crochet the stitches together. And because the crocodile stitch is a hard stitch, meaning that you have to crochet many stitches on top of the double crochet and stuff, and it'll just take you too long to go ahead and redo that all over again. Okay, so just please go back and check that you have made your stitches correctly. Now after your slip stitch, chain 1 and turn your work. From here on, the beginning of the row of the crocodile stitch, we're going to start in the same exact way as we are going to do now. So I have my next stitch being the 1 double crochet, but I want to reach the 2 double crochet to create the scale. So go ahead and work 1 slip stitch in the double crochet, and now we are on the 2 stitches over here. So yarn over once, we're going to put our hook from the right side under the right stitch, turn clockwise and work 5 stitches going downwards, chain 1. Then we're going to put our hook from the left side under the left stitch, and I'm going to turn counterclockwise to work my 5 stitches going upwards. So the process on making the scale is exactly the same. Now the reason the reason that we always work 2 double crochet on top of the 1 double crochet that stands by itself, and always work the 1 double crochet between the scales, is because the scale that I'm going to work now is going to fall right in between the 2 of the previous row. Okay, so let's start. We're going to work only the first skill together, and then we're going to go off camera. So put your hook under the right stitch, turn clockwise, and work your 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, chain 1, turn counterclockwise under the left stitch, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So see how this skill that I just worked falls in between the 2 of the previous row. Now always work a slip stitch on the 1 double crochet. Okay, so keep working off camera all around. Once I crochet on my last 2 stitches over here, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to close this row and how to start the new one. I've completed crocheting all around. Okay, now after your last skill, again put your hook in this double crochet that stands by itself, which is the same double crochet that I worked the first slip stitch, chain 3. But before we do the chain 3, I want to see how the stitch looks in this row. So see how all the scales fall in between the scales of the previous row. This is what we want to have as a result in every row. Okay, so after the slip stitch, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and from here on we are going to work off camera because every row is going to be worked in the same exact way as we did the previous 2 rows. Okay, the row with the double crochet and the row with the scales. So always start with a chain 3. Always turn your work to start crocheting on the inside of your bag, and always start by working a double crochet in the same stitch. Okay, and the reason that we do this is because my first stitch over here is the double crochet that stands by itself. So on top of that stitch I want to work the 2 double crochet. Okay, so after that, chain 1, 1 double crochet in the center of the scale, and so on. Okay, once you finish right over here where you're going to work the 1 double crochet again, okay, chain 1 and slip stitch, you are going to turn your work, and as we did in the previous row, you're going to work a slip stitch in the double crochet that stands by itself, and you're going to go ahead and start working your scale in the 2 double crochet right after it. Okay, so from here on repeat the same exact steps as we did in the previous 2 rows, and the scales that we're going to work in this row are going to fall in between the scales of the previous row, but they are going to line up with the scales of the first row. And in every row of scales that we work, we are always going to have a total of 21 scales all around. So once I finish, I'm going to turn my video back on. I'm going to mention how many rows of scales I have worked. We're going to see the total height, and then we're going to see how to work the last rows of the bag and how to adjust the frame on our bag. Okay, so let's work off camera. Once I finish, I'm going to turn my video back on. I have completed crocheting my evening bag so far, and I have worked a total of 10 rows with a crocodile stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, and the total height of my bag at this point is around 14 to 14.5 centimeters. Now we are going to crochet the last rows, which they are going to be plain single crochet, so it's easier for us to adjust the frame on the top. Okay, so what we're going to do is, after the slip stitch and the chain 1, so from here on we're not going to turn our work anymore. We are always going to be crocheting on the outside of the project in rounds, okay? So let me zoom in so the steps are easier for me to explain and show. So what we are doing now, we're going to be crocheting a total of 5 single crochet on every scale, okay? The first single crochet, see how here is the first double crochet of the 5 going downwards? So right over here on the top, where you would normally crochet the stitch if it would be a regular double crochet, this is where you're gonna work your first stitch. The second one, you will crochet in the bottom part of the stitch. The third stitch you will make in the center of the eye. Okay, and now we are across on the other side on the stitches that we go upwards. On the fifth stitch, on the last one, we're gonna work on the bottom of the stitch and then on the top of the stitch right over here. Okay, so we have a total of 5 stitches on each scale. So let's start. First one, on the first double crochet on the top part, 1, second stitch in the bottom part of the stitch, 2, the third one in the center of the eye, fourth one on the other double crochet on the bottom part, and the fifth stitch in the stitch right here on the top. So we have our first 5 stitches. Now jump over to the next scale. First, on the top part of the first stitch, on the bottom part of the same stitch, 2, in the center of the eye, 3, in the bottom part of the next stitch, 4, and on the top part of the same stitch, 5. Okay, let's work one more scale together. So your first single crochet is on the top of the first stitch, second single crochet in the bottom part of the same stitch, third single crochet in the center of the eye, fourth stitch in the bottom part of the next double crochet, and the fifth stitch on the top part of that same stitch. Okay, so here we go. This is what we have as a result so far. So keep crocheting a total of 5 single crochet on every scale all around. Once I crochet the last 5 stitches on the last scale, I'm going to turn my video back on. I have completed my first row of single crochet and I have a total of 105 stitches. Now put your hook in the first single crochet for this row and work a slip stitch and a chain 1. In row 2 we are going to crochet again with 1 single crochet in every stitch, and because we are not going to turn our work, and this is something that I have mentioned in previous videos, when we don't turn our work, the loop that belongs to each stitch is on its top right. So this right here is my first single crochet. So on the top right, in the same exact stitch that I just worked my slip stitch, I'm going to work my first single crochet. So 1, next stitch, 2, 3, 4, and keep crocheting 1 single crochet all around up until your last stitch for a total of 105 single crochet again. Please be aware this is not our last stitch because this is the slip stitch that we just worked. Okay, once I finish my 105, I'm going to turn my video back on. I have completed crocheting row number 2, 105 stitches in total. Put your hook in the first stitch of this row. As we said before we turn the video off, this is not a stitch in which we crochet into. So put your hook in the first single crochet of the row, work a slip stitch, chain 1, and by following the same exact steps for the beginning and the end of the row that I did in row 2 now of single crochet, I'm going to do for the next rows as well. So I'm going to work off camera, and when I turn my video back on, I'm going to mention how many rows of single crochet we worked in total. Sorry. And then we're going to work 1 or 2 rows of slip stitches to make it steady in order to be able to adjust the frame on our bag. I have completed crocheting my rows of single crochet, and I have worked a total of 6 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, now we're gonna work a last row of slip stitches. So chain 1, and starting from the next stitch right over here, work 1 slip stitch all around, and this will help me to give steady stitches in order to be able to sew the frame in the end. But please make sure you do not work your slip stitches very tight, because your work is going to shrink, and we don't want that to happen, because if it shrinks, the frame is not going to fit around our bag correctly. Okay, so make sure you work your slip stitches with medium tension. So 1, 2, sorry, next stitch, 3, 4, 5, 6, and keep working 1 slip stitch all around. Okay, once I finish, I'm going to turn my video back on. I've worked one slip stitch all around, and because I worked 1 chain and started working from the second stitch, I have a total of 104 slip stitches. Now put your hook in the chain 1 and work a slip stitch, chain 1, cut the yarn and fasten off. Okay, so we have completed working the last row with slip stitches. Now I'm going to explain a few things about the lining, how to adjust the frame. We're going to work those steps off camera, and then I'm going to turn my video back on to see how our clutch bag looks completed. So now that we have completed working our clutch bag, the first step that we're going to do is to weave in all the ends on the inside on the loops of the crocodile stitch right here on the double crochet that we worked around the crocodile stitch. Once you do that, the next step is to line. I do not know how to line, so I give my bags to my mother-in-law and she lines them for me. But I'm going to line right over here in the first row of single crochet, so all the holes are hidden over here. Okay, but if you prefer and you want to line on the top over here, you can go ahead and do that. It's your bag, so you're going to line it in the best way you can and in the way that you prefer. But for me, I'm going to line right here on the first row of single crochet. Once you have lined your bag, then it's time to center the stitches so you know where to adjust the frame correctly. Okay, so you want to find your 4 corners, and your base is going to help you to do that. Once you find your 4 corners, you're going to put your stitch markers, okay? And once you put your stitch markers on your 4 corners, then you want to find the center stitches as well. So let's say you have adjusted a stitch marker here and here, and the stitches in between the stitch markers are 15, for example, okay? You want to find that center stitch out of the 15, which is the 8th stitch, for example. Again, from here to here, you want to find the center stitches as well. So let's say the stitches between here are 30 or 31. Again, you want to find the center stitches and adjust stitch markers, and this will help you to adjust the frame the best way possible. Now, once you have found your stitches and you have found all your stitches all around, you're going to adjust your frame on here. And what you want to do is we want the stitches right here to go on the inside of the frame over here. Okay, you want your stitches to go on the inside of the frame, and you want to sew the stitches from your bag on the holes that you have on the frame. Now, we are not going to sew every single stitch in the holes of the frame, because I have 45 holes on the one side, 45 on the other one. I have a total of 90 holes and over 100 stitches on my project. So you want to sew on the stitch that each hole aligns to. And what you want to do is you want to sew, okay, with regular sewing yarn, okay, yarn and needle, and you want to go from the inside to the outside, and in the next hole you're going to go in the inside, okay, from the front to the back, from the back to the front, from the front to the back to the back, from the back to the front, okay. And you're going to sew on the inside over here your project right over here. You're going to fit it in and you're going to sew it on the stitches you have aligned, okay. Before you finish and you weave in your ends, make sure you check your frame that it's adjusted correctly, just in case you're going to need to frog everything and re-sew the stitches on the frame, okay. So make sure you sew with regular thread and needle. We do not sew with the same yarn that we made the bag because the holes are too small and the yarn does not fit in here, okay. So once I line, I sew my frame on my clutch bag on my project. I'm going to turn my video back on to see how our clutch bag looks completed. I have completed attaching the frame on my bag, and look what a beautiful results we have. Okay, I have used 4 strands of yarn, thread, sorry, I've used 4 strands of thread to sew it around, just to make sure that as I go through it doesn't break. Okay, this is how it looks on the inside. Okay, my mother-in-law lined it for me. Now this is how it looks on the inside. Now, because this is the first time that I work a bag with frame, a few things that I want to mention is that because the stitch markers do not fit, so you can attach, you know, they do not fit in the holes, so you can find your markers all around. What I did is I used yarn to put markers all around, okay. Now as you find your stitches, I started with my corners and then I went around and found the other stitches. But what I want to say is that when you are here on the sides, make sure that it's not very tight, okay. Make sure that, you know, the stitches are nice and straight in here, but they have a little loose to them, just so when you close your bag this goes down. If this is very tight, you won't be able to make this move over here. So make sure you give a little loose to the stitches on the 2 sides over here, just so they close nicely. Okay, look what a beautiful results we have with the frame, and it has the handle here with the diamonds. Okay, well, they're not real diamonds, but okay. Now the last move is, if you like, we can add this little chain right here on the links that the frame has on it. Okay, so if you are out with this bag, you won't only have the handle to have it on your wrist, but you can also wear it as a purse with this chain over here. So thanks for watching, please subscribe, and if you like the video, please press like and leave a comment. Thanks again, bye bye.